Hello, this is Emily with Carousel QC. We just got in the mail some vinyl felts and some tap flashers that I had ordered to make some Christmas bows. They didn't come in time for Christmas in July, but I was dying to try it out. So we're going to try it out. These vinyls, you have to cut them out, and then they have a little pocket in the bottom where you stick the flasher in it, and then you glue it shut. I've never used one before, but I saw a video and it sounded really cool, so I thought I'd try it. Anyway, that's how you make it, but I already made one, and I already glued it onto the bow. I put felt behind it to help it stay, not fall off after I glued the bottom together, and I glued it with epoxy so that it will stay. But anyway, any kind of vibration, tapping it, shaking it, and it'll start lighting up. And it just seemed appropriate for the star, for Nativity, for the star that announced Jesus is born. So, but this isn't the whole bow, because this is going to be a big fancy bow to go with the big fancy flasher, of course. I already put the main parts together so that the video is shorter. So we're going to start with our spikes, which these are really floppy. I haven't starched it yet, but I don't starch it until I put the bow together, because I want it to wrap around the clip and kind of wrap around the head of the person that's wearing it, sort of like a fascinator. So the clip, I already also epoxied the felt to it. It just helps keep it from falling off, because this is the only thing that holds the clip to the bow. It's not wrapped around the bow like what I do on the normal style bows. So I'm going to figure out where I want to situate this. I want it to line up properly. And I will put a little bit of hot glue just to hold it while I'm trying to work with it. But I'll have to actually use epoxy to make sure it stays sealed shut. It's very important not to move on people or fall off. Okay. I got the corner glued down, so
whoa, mousy buttons.
Scared me half to death.
Sorry, this cat just jumped on us.
We had a little too much help, sorry. Buttons, you're in the way.
Yes, you are very much in the way.
Oh, that scared me.
Alright,
let me find my epoxy.
I'll just video from up here.
Yeah, it's just being very stubborn about it, isn't she? Okay, I'm going to put some epoxy on the middle. And I also hot glue it because I want it to dry faster instantly. But the epoxy has a much more permanent bond. And it works better on metal and plastic and other hard things. And I learned this the hard way from having things pop off that I made. Okay, I think there's a couple more pieces I need to get some glue into.
Wait, Cat, you're in the video.
It's okay, just record it. I don't care. As long as you can see still, because you're making more of a fuss about the cat than it's worth right now.
Get off.
Okay, Elizabeth, what did I say? Just leave the cat. It's fine. Okay, I think I got it all glued down. And there's any little spots where it seems like it's sticking up a little bit, because the spikes on the bows tend to not always want to lay down properly. And some of them will stay just fine. And once you starch them, they'll pretty much stay in place no matter what you do to them. But we haven't starched it yet, and I want it to look pretty and not all bent up funny. So, okay. That's going to be so pretty. Next, I'm going to decide what I'm doing with this glitter. I cut the tulle and made 2 little tulle bows with it. And I kind of want to put it in the middle, but I don't want it to cover up the ribbon. So I may not even use it. I kind of have to figure that out, look at it and see. Let me put it on the top, actually. Because I didn't have any gold I didn't realize that this was so much more gold than the yellow ribbon. So I'm trying to figure out to put some gold in here. So I might do something like that. Let me mess with it. Let's see. Okay. This has to go on next. And again, I'm going to use a little bit of epoxy and a lot of hot glue. Because I don't want this to fall off. Ever. And no matter how many times it gets shaken to light up, it needs to stay in position. So I'm going to just glue it. And I believe I'm being generous with the glue. Because I'd rather have a little dot of glue showing than have something fall apart, you know. Because the glue is clear. No, it's not ideal. It's better not to have any glue showing. But, you know, we don't live in an ideal world. We live in a real world, so. Press it down real good. Okay. Get all the strings off. When I'm satisfied with where it is, we're going to go to the next step. Put on taking a video, please. Turn it down. Okay. These are going to be the surrounds, and I did not stick them together because I was trying to decide if I want to do it like this and have kind of different colors, or if I wanted to do red on the bottom and black on the top, or how I wanted to look. I kind of was half decided, so I didn't actually connect them to each other until I looked at it and see what I like. That's the thing with making a new bow, is it's a completely creative process. So actually that's upside down, so I think I just answered my own question because I want this to not be upside down. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the top and a little bit of glue on the bottom. Pick up the side of the bow and wedge it up there as far as I can. And then press it together until it dries real quick. And it's glued to the bow and that. And that way it kind of stays in place. Okay. I think this one's probably going to be upside down too. I might have to cut another one. I didn't realize I did that. That's one thing with ribbon that has to be a certain direction, because I think I do like having it up here. I'm going to have to cut another piece. Okay, well I guess y'all can see how I do it, even though that wasn't really my master plan here. I was trying to make the bow shorter by having all the parts ready. But when you're creating, things are not always black and white. So, like this. So it's cut there. Conceal. Fire! Pyromaniac. Okay, I'm going to kind of trace this because I want it to have, this is the exact shape, but I want it to be the opposite way. So I'm just going to trace that so I can see where it goes. I'm just put some glue. Doesn't have to be real pretty because it's not going to show, and you're going to put glue on top of it anyway, so that part doesn't matter a whole lot. As long as it's glued together real good. Oh, I missed on the heat seal. See, it's stringing already. I don't want it to look like that on the finished product. So sometimes you have to heat seal a couple of times unless you're perfect, which none of us are. Okay, I'm going to glue some glue on the top, some glue on the bottom. I think I got some extra strings here. Okay, same thing. I'm going to pick up this loop and I'm going to do my best to wedge it down in there as much as possible. Okay, and I just saw where I misglued my spikes. See how it's falling apart in the middle right here? I must not have glued the center of that spike when I was putting it together. Probably because I was experimenting and I wasn't sure what order I wanted it in. And I didn't glue it down. So these bows tend to be very heavy because they have so much ribbon on them. So I like to make sure it's glued, and double check and triple check because it's heavy and they're expensive. So I don't want it to fall apart on somebody. That's a big important thing for me. And I probably say it all the time. Sorry. Alright, I'm going to put the other two spikes on, and they're stars, so they can go upside down, right side up. It really doesn't matter. Just a good thing. And I try to imitate. It doesn't have to be exact, but you want it to sort of look like the same angle if you can do it. Okay. That one already has glue on it from where I was experimenting with it earlier. But I will cut that off just because I want it to get up closer underneath the bow as much as possible. So I want to get it all up there. Okay. I might have cut these a little bit too big because they're not laying on the bow like they're supposed to. So we're going to starch them. When we starch it, I will stand them up and starch it so that they will, when they dry, they will be standing up more.
Buttons.
So we are fixing to do that before I put the toe in it. No, actually we're not. Anyway, there's a little bit of experimenting with this because it's a new thing, so you'll have to forgive me. Let me see what I want to do with this. I kind of like that, but I think I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter because I was thinking about this underneath the whole bow and I didn't do it, so putting it in the middle, I don't want to cover up all the spikes, so we just did all that work for no reason, so we're going to cut it a little bit shorter. Last thing with toes, it doesn't ravel. You just have to worry about cutting it straight as possible. And a good sharp pair of scissors does that. Okay. Now that makes it a lot smaller. Let's see how that does. Ooh, I like it. I love that already. Now it's going to get wedged down in there a little bit more.
Pretty.
I think we're going to put side bows on this one too. Just, I want it to be the fancy.
Buttons, are you okay?
She's fine. She's just being a cat. Okay, so I'm going to put a dot of glue across it, just so that I can fold it in half, because I kind of want it to stay in place here. And then I put kind of across and on the top and on the bottom, because it's kind of going to wedge itself down. I've seen people put the felt on this too, but for putting it on this part of the bow, the felt will show. And as long as you've got a lot of glue, I've never had a problem with it not staying. So I think it's fine. It doesn't have any weight on it. It's just kind of there to make it fluffy and pretty. And anything I need to fluff or cut or whatever, now is the time to decide that. I usually just kind of look at the shape and look at the edges. And see, like this is sticking up straight. I don't like that. I want it to be rounded. It can stick out past the spikes a little bit, but I want it to follow the shape of it properly. So I kind of like this because it makes a big star, like raised like a star on top. So it's kind of cool. I don't think I'm going to put anything on the bottom of this one though. Although I do kind of not like that blank space. I mean, I like this showing on the sides because I want you to be able to see this Nativity ribbon. It's just the focus here. But I really don't like this. So I probably put a smaller piece of the tulle on the bottom. I don't want a big bunchy bunch like the top, so this is probably close to a yard. I'm just going to cut it. String. And I'm going to fold it a couple of times until it gets to the right size. I used to measure these, but I've done enough of them that I just kind of eyeball it now. Bow making is creative. It's not an exact science. So.
Science proves that bow making is not science.
Well, it's creative. I mean, if you measure everything exactly, it's probably good for the bottom line, money-wise, but it also makes it very tedious. That's what I like, is being creative. That's why I don't make bows exactly the same, or I'm not usually more than a couple of them exactly the same. I like, the whole point is being creative and making something. And on these, if it's a little bit off center, it doesn't matter because you're going to fold it in half anyway. So if one side's a little bit shorter, that can just be the front. Because it kind of gives it a thickness and a fullness to it and a layered look. Just because you're kind of filling in spaces. When you have a fatter ribbon, like a 1.5 inch ribbon, you don't have so much white space because the ribbon is bulkier and it fills it in. You don't have that problem, but with the thinner, smaller ribbons, sometimes you kind of have a big space depending on how big of a bow you made. Okay, same thing. Actually, let me look at it and see. Yeah, that needs to be way shorter.
The scissor cut.
Because I just want it to fill in that blank space. I don't want it to take away from the top, which is the pretty part. Fold it in half, and it's kind of a mini fan or skirt.
Like I'm a mini fan, Ma.
I think that'll work. Okay, same thing. I'm going to put a glue here just to hold the fold over. And then I'm going to glue around it. I kind of make a circle or something.
That bowl is covered in glue.
It is. And I'm going to shove it up there as far as I can. The other thing with that, I like this because it's going to cover up the bottom of the Nativity where I glued it together after I put the flasher in it. Isn't going to... That's the other reason I wanted to put something on the bottom. It kind of I want to cover that up. It's necessary, but I don't want that to be a centerpiece on the bow, you know. I like that. I really like that. Okay, I have to... We're about ready to starch it. I think I'm just going to kind of quit playing with the glue, please. Check, glue it down in a couple of places, and then call it ready. All I have to do is starch it. So at this point, I'm going to glue my spike, or my surrounds down. Instead of wrapping it around the bow, since I have the towel in the middle, I'm just going to make it flat. And it's just going to add some dimension to it. So this is an experiment when you're designing things, so sometimes you end up having things you didn't plan on. So you never know how it's going to turn out until it turns out sometimes. But even though it's more complicated, I actually really like designing the bows. That's one of the fun things about doing this. Okay, and then this is going to just fluff, fluff, fluff. This is just going to fluff, fluff, fluff. Okay, I got some strings and things that need to come off. I think we have a finished bow, y'all.
All we need to do is starch it.
Yeah.
Let's starch
And I'll
it.
just spray it with the starch all over because it helps it to maintain its shape. And not right this second, I'm not ready for that. I'm just cutting it and checking the strings and the glue strings. Anyway, because it's hot glued, the hot glue is already dry. So somebody could wear this literally within an hour of making it, just as soon as the starch dries. The other glue, the epoxy, does take longer to dry, but because we use the epoxy and the glue at the same time, it's dry enough. That's just kind of a backup security thing. And then with having the felt, it looks real pretty on the back too.
Super pretty.
Okay, so I think we're pretty good. What do you think, Elizabeth?
I love the little glue.
And I
in the
love
middle.
the light. That is so awesome. Okay.
Wow, it's super pretty. You got the little king, you got the princess, you got the little...
It's Jesus. It's Mary and Joseph.
Right. Well, I forgot their names, okay? Do I have to be perfect? Am I the most perfect girl in the world?
No, you don't have to be perfect. Just wanted to make sure you understood that's who it was. That's sort of the point. Okay, you can turn the camera off. Say bye.
Bye.